Hi, I'm Claire, and this is the Finally Full book tag. This tag was originally created by Tall Tales, and I will leave a link to their video in the description box below if you'd like to go and check it out. I'm super excited to do this tag because the weather has been getting a bit colder, I've been wrapping up a little more, which I really enjoy, and I've been watching other people do this tag and really enjoying these videos. So without further ado, let's get started. We've got a lot of questions to go through. Question 1 is in full, the air is crisp and clear. Name a book with a vivid setting. And for this one, I picked Arabella of Mars by David D. Levine. I read this earlier this year and I absolutely loved it, particularly the portions of the book that are set either on Mars or on the ship that Arabella is on. Now that I'm saying this, I realize that means most of the book, but I really did like this book. The bits on Mars stood out specifically because of the way the Martian culture was drawn and the way the Martian societal rules felt really plausible. The bits that were on the ship felt very much like you would read in a book about a naval battle. There was a lot of info about the ship and a lot of stuff about how the ship worked. And granted, I know absolutely nothing about ships, but I was quite convinced that the author knew a lot more than me whilst I was reading this. Question 2 is nature is beautiful but also dying. Name a book that is beautifully written but also deals with a heavy topic like loss or grief. And for this, the immediate answer that sprung to mind was the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. This is the 5th season, the first book, and those books are so beautifully written. The prose in them is so fantastic, but also they are heartbreaking. There is literally no other book that could top this for this question. If you've read the books, you know what I mean, and if you haven't read them, I think you definitely should, but prepare yourself to be smacked in the feels repeatedly. Question 3 is fall is back to school season. Share a non-fiction book that taught you something new. And for this one, I've got to pick Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. This is Trevor Noah's memoir of growing up in South Africa as a mixed-race child as apartheid ended, like during the end of apartheid and shortly after. And I had to pick this because literally everything in this book was new to me. You know, I mean, I knew that apartheid had been a thing and I knew the bare bones of it, but it's not something that I've studied in detail in school, in France, or at university, or anything like that. And so much of it was new and allowed me to see things from a completely different perspective. That in itself was just fascinating, but aside from the events of the book taking place against the backdrop of this time in history that I didn't know enough about, there were a lot of personal anecdotes and a lot of reflections on things like degrees of privilege and multilingualism and language and growing up with abusive people near you, that kind of thing that I also found fascinating. Question 4 is in order to keep warm, it's good to spend time with the people you love. Name a fictional family, household, or friend group that you'd like to be a part of. For this one, I've chosen the Price family from the Encrypted series by Seanan McGuire. In the first few books, we follow Verity Price, and then we go on to follow her siblings and her cousins in various other books. And I really like this family because they're one of those families where they have this one thing in common, which is that they are cryptozoologists, i.e. they study and care for magical creatures and what other people would term monsters. They make sure that humans don't attack cryptids, and they also make sure that cryptids don't attack humans. So they're this big family group that's very close-knit in a way because they share this one thing that no one else really believes exists and is true, but they also kind of do their own thing. And what I really love about them is that they're so supportive and they come together when they need to, but also they are quite independent and they're quite happy to go and have little adventures on the side. They actually reminded me a lot of the Lane family from Daria, except less comically incompetent. You kind of get the feeling that if you're a Price, you're going to just have this layer of protection that you can always call the family for backup. And also, if you're a price, you're like a cool cryptozoologist, so that's also good. Question 5 is the leaves are piling up on the ground. Show us a pile of full colored spines. And for this, I literally just picked up the orangey section of my TBR shelf, which is organized by color. So there you have Shanghai Sparrow by Gay Siebold, Nos for R2 by Joe Hill, Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, Rail C by China Mieville, Alias Grace by Margaret Atwood, Landline by Rainbow Rowell, and Pirate Cinema by Cory Doctorow, all of which have been sat on my TBR shelf for quite some time. Question 6 is fall is the perfect time for some storytelling by the fireside. Share a book in which a character tells a story. For this one, I've picked Ghost Talkers by Mary Robinette Kowal. This isn't a book with like one significant character telling one significant story, but this is a book in which a lot of characters tell a lot of stories, and it is a book in which storytelling and the burden of remembering and hearing stories and passing them on is really, really important. The premise of the book is that there is a medium corps in the war on the British side, and that what the medium corps does is to hear the stories of the soldiers that have been killed on the front line so that they can know what happens on the front line, as well as pass on, you know, whatever the last wish of the deceased was. And so because it's a book in which the main character hears stories of dead people for a living, that is something that's quite significant and quite important in the book. It is, as you might imagine from this summary, a giant punch in the feels. I cried several times reading this book. Question 7 is the nights are getting darker. Share a dark, creepy read. And for this, I'm going to go with Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Seanan McGuire. This is the second book in her Wayward Children series about children who have gone to magical fairylands and then return to the mundane world and don't really know how to deal with that. I loved the first book, Every Heart a Doorway, and I'm currently reading this, and it's delightfully dark and creepy. Even when she's not writing dark and creepy things, Seanan McGuire puts dark and creepy things in anyway. So you can imagine when she sets out to do something dark and creepy, as you can probably tell by the cover, it gets quite dark and creepy. Question 8 is the days are getting colder. Name a short, heartwarming read that could warm somebody up on a cold, rainy day. And for this, I kind of struggle a bit because I realized that not much of what I read is actually heartwarming. So if you have any ideas for any heartwarming books, let me know in the comments below. In the end, I chose to go with Giant Days Volume 1, although I could have gone with any currently published volume of this series. The series was created and is written by John Allison, and this book has illustrations by Lisa Tremaine. Now, I love the entire series. It's quite different from what I usually read in that it doesn't have any fantastical or science fictional or speculative element to it at all. It's more of a coming of age slice of life comedy about these 3 girls who start together at university and become friends and have a bunch of shenanigans and misadventures happen to them. And it's lovely because at the end of the day, whatever happens, they pretty much always end up in their dorm room talking the problems out together. And it's just nice. I like it. It makes me happy. I wish there was a bajillion more of this for me to read. There's only 4 or 5 volumes out now, I think. I have a spare one to read that I haven't read yet that I picked up at the comic book store the other day, and I'm so excited. Question 9 is fall returns every year. Name an old favorite you'd like to return to soon. Now, I don't know if I could say an old favorite. I've been meaning to reread His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman because there's a new book coming out soon, or that that's already come out in that same universe called The Book of Dust, and I would very much like to read that, but I don't really remember enough of his Dark Materials because I read it as a teen, and I also think that I would get so much more from it now because it's one of these books with a lot that you can get from as a teen or an adult. But I don't know if I'd call it an old favorite, because even though I read it a long time ago and it is a favorite of mine, I haven't reread it multiple times. What is really an old favorite, as in something that I've gone back to again and again and again and again and have recently gone back to, is Prisoner of Azkaban. And of course I have this monstrous giant illustrated edition by Jim Kay that has just recently come out. I was super excited about it. Now that I've got it and that I've seen it and that I think there are fewer illustrations in this one compared to the other two that are already out, I'm less excited, but it is my favorite in the series and I'm still going to spend some more time looking at it. Question 10 is: fall is the perfect time for cozy reading night. Share your favorite cozy reading accessories. This is a new thing that I bought recently from Marks and Spencer's here in the UK. I don't know how to qualify this. Is it like a poncho or something? I mean, it's basically a blanket with a slit up the middle so you can put it over your shoulders. It is the coziest. I can wrap myself in like this and I still have room for my arms to come out and turn the pages and drink tea and hot chocolate. I love the color of it. It's very Slytherin-y and it's very comfortable, and it crucially does not obscure my feet. My cat, who is scared of everything, is literally visibly upset whenever she can't see my feet. We can't have the cat being upset. We really legitimately can't. That's not possible. So that's it. This was the finally full book tag. I hope you enjoyed this video and this tag. Let me know in the comments below if you have any suggestions and recommendations for cozy and creepy reads for this time of year. If you'd like to see more from me, you can check out a previous video right about here. And if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button that's on my face right about here for more videos from me every week. I've been Claire, thanks so much for watching, and see you soon.